Introduction, but if you don't know, and I think we can all appreciate, no matter what your politics are, that Governor Evers has been a champion for shared revenue and a champion for making sure that we get as much as we need, at least by way of legislation, to adequately do our jobs and be adequately staffed. And he's been definitely a champion for municipal funding. So, with no further ado, Governor Tony Evers.
Thanks, Madison. Can you hear me all right? Yes, you can. Plenty loud. Good morning, everybody. It's good to be here today. I didn't mean to chase the state representative off the
I gotta go back to work.
All right, that's fine. So, it's important work you're doing today on the fire and the EMS lobby day. First of all, thanks to Malin for inviting me to be here today, along with the professional firefighters of Wisconsin and the outstanding members of the Wisconsin Fire and EMS Coalition for having me to be here today. Now, as I travel across the state, and I do a lot of that, I talk a lot about building a safer and healthier Wisconsin, and the reality of that work many times ends up on your shoulders, obviously. We serve our state as emergency response professionals, and it's our responsibility as a state to make sure that we are doing our part to make sure that you can do your jobs to the best of your ability. So here's the reality. For a decade now, our local municipalities have been forced to do more with less and make impossible decisions about what essential services to fund, having to choose between paying for first responders or responding to PFAS or fixing the roads or funding the public library, local public library, and other critical priorities. We know this system is unsustainable, and you know that too. And it's high time we do something about it. I have been clear for years that the state must do more to fulfill our obligation to ensure our local partners can meet both basic and unique community needs alike. Last year in my State of State address, I announced that we were investing in public safety, including providing funding for fire and EMS, one of our top priorities. And I'm glad we were able to do that and direct more than $69 million to support EMS providers in communities across the state. And that included directing $32 million to more than 400 EMS providers in nearly every county of Wisconsin through the Flex Grant Program, and an additional $22 million in support for fire station construction and expansion, EMS and emergency medical response program support, and other permanent healthcare infrastructure in 8 communities across the state that really needed it. These investments have been critical to helping local communities maintain these vital services, but simply we knew that that wasn't enough. And that's why this month I proposed a budget that makes continued investments in these priorities to ensure that we're addressing the root causes of the problem, setting communities and our emergency response providers up, setting them up for sustainable success. First, my budget delivers on the promise I made to send 20% of the state's sales tax revenue back to local communities for shared revenue. This is a historic proposal. It means more than $500 million more per year in new resources to local communities to invest in key priorities like local health and human services, transportation, EMS, fire, law enforcement. It's the largest increase in aid to municipalities in the last several decades. And I just want to put this in context. Over the last, I think, 15 years, if I remember this correctly, the largest increase, or the average increase, not the largest, the average increase of shared revenue to local municipalities has been 0.04%. That's not 40%. That's not 4%. That's not 0.4%. That's 0.04%. Now you tell me any other level of government, whether it's state, local, regional, you name it, can survive that length of time with an average increase of that, and obviously the costs have gone up, obviously the issues that you face every day have become more complex. So it's high time, and additionally, about 43% of this new funding will go to public safety aids. My budget also responds to the state's acute EMS crisis. Specifically, my budget provides over $150 million to continue the Flex Grant Program, directs funds to implement ambulance assessment and certified public expenditure program, and expands the Office of Preparedness and Emergency Healthcare, provides resources for an ambulance inspection program, and addresses the challenges and barriers preventing folks from pursuing EMS careers. And in case you didn't know, it's the year of mental health, which is why this budget also expands worker compensation coverage for EMS providers experiencing PTSD. Investments in our budget like this are critical. The state has to start being a partner in and not an obstacle to the success of our local communities. These concepts are not controversial, at least not to the folks who spend more time outside of the Capitol than inside of the Capitol. Bottom line is that this is a budget about priorities, and it's not about politics. It's about getting back to the basics and doing the right thing. That's why events like you're doing here today are so important. Obviously, we have a Democratic governor, we have a Republican legislature, and things become political. But at the end of the day, the things I just mentioned and the things that you advocate for are not political. They're needed. They're serving our communities in a way that frankly you have been unable to do in the past because you have had less resources than you needed. Now, some people might say, well, we don't know if we can afford this. Well, I can tell you we have $7 billion of surplus in the state of Wisconsin. You know, you can cut that any way you want, but that is the largest surplus we've ever had. This is our time, folks, to make sure that fire, EMS, our communities, our community governments in general, get the money they need to do the work that they're expected to do, that the people in our communities expect you to do. So I'm encouraging you to be as an aggressive position on this issue. This has been a top position, top priority of mine when I ran for re-election, and by God, I won. I think people were really hoping that I wouldn't win, but I did. And one of the reasons I did was because I talked about shared revenue just about every hour of every day during this last campaign. So the people of Wisconsin are with us on this issue. I encourage you to be aggressive as you talk to legislators as possible. This is really critical work, and thank you for being here today. And let's go get it.